Hey folks, let's talk SATCOMs for a minute. If you're interested and you're still looking to get that satellite phone and or a bivy stick, jump over to sat123.com. That's sat123.com. And they've got some deals going for the Monkey Nation over at Satellite Phone Store. You can get the Iridium 9555 phone for yourself and comes with a Faraday bag, or you can get them for your family. They also come with Faraday bags. They still have the Inmarsat phones as well, with plans for you and your family. And then, of course, they have the bivy stick also if you're interested. Remember, these quantities are pretty limited in terms of how many are available set aside for the Monkey Nation. So don't wait. Jump over there, sat123.com. That's sat123.com. Or you can call them at 941-955-1020. That's it. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. All right. Hey, good morning, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here, coming to you from the Heat Dome here in Texas. It's going to be Wednesday. It's about 11 a.m. Central Time. Coming to you in the Monkey Lounge live. It is, 7/19/2023. So if you're in the premiere, I am in the chat with you. So if you got questions, anything like that, go ahead and do so. For those that are live right now, don't ask me a question because I'm not looking at the board. I just wanted to tell you that so you don't feel like I'm ignoring you. Okay, so let's do this. Let's jump over here to our other board, and we've got what looks to be around 28 air refuelers up right now. And we're just looking at those. We're going to back it out and see the total quantity. It was around 227 a couple minutes ago. But the air refuelers, just important to notice you got two of them running down here to the southern border. That is not supporting Text 2 trainers or anything else like that. What you have, when you've got two air refuelers down there, they can service quite a few F-16s, F-22s, F-35s, etc. if they're running patrol down here on the border. I do find it interesting that we do continue to see a presence of air refuelers down there. I don't see any large aircraft like B-52s, things of that nature that require refueling down in that region. So it is very likely that's going to be fighter activity. Now, for the rest of the U.S., we've got them, looks like one out here on the West Coast, a couple others that are headed out kind of in this general west side of the U.S., Northeast, chock full as always, and then one down over Florida. So we've pretty much got the entire United States covered coast to coast. Let's go over to Europe and take a look and see if we've got anything up in the air. Looks like we are supporting some air refueling out over the North Sea off of England. Those are all going to be, let's see, that is United States. Yeah, all three of these are going to be U.S. military assets. And then we have one that is the Italian military, looks to be headed down to the Middle East, maybe Dubai, UAE, Qatar, somewhere in this region. We'll see where it ends up going, but that is where we are for those. Let me jump over to the Asian Pacific side and see if we've got anything up. Nothing there. Of course, it is a different time of day there right now, so that would probably be why. All right, now let me do this. We're going to take out the air refuelers, and then we're going to hit a refresh. And then I'm going to bounce us back over. Let me close out our database, and then I'm going to take us back over the United States. We'll get a total head count on how many aircraft are currently up over the U.S. 223. So it is actually 233. It's actually increased by a few, and quite busy, actually. And keep in mind, I've already taken out 65 Text 2 trainers and 22 T-38s from that number. So if you add those back in, you can see where they're located. California's got a lot of T-38s up right now. Same thing up here near Pax River and over northern, it looks like Birmingham. And then, of course, North Texas kind of light, a little bit down in South Texas in terms of the T-38s. And we'll take those off, and then we'll pull the 65s you can see in the normal sections for Text 2s. None of these are going to require air refueling capabilities, so kind of hard to match those up. But that is because the Text 2s, most of them are going to be little prop jobs. They're trainers, and when the pilots are learning how to fly, air refueling is quite a complex task to learn how to do. So All right. Let's take us out of that. So that rolls us up to about 319 if we add those trainers back in. But let's go take a look at our watch list. A little busy this morning. You're going to notice 4 of the MIL Intel balloons up over the United States right now. And there's a lot more than that. Those are the only ones we see. A lot of survey aircraft currently up. Florida, up north, all over the place, really. Texas. And out over, Arizona, New Mexico, California. Yeah, they're everywhere. And then a couple P-8s, got I think 3 or 4 Navy P-8s that are up right now as well in the mix. So out of our 1,500 on the watch list, we're sitting around 66 up today currently. Now we get over to Europe, and it starts to paint a little different story. R-135 looks to be coming back from over in Constanta. And then we've got some survey planes, that right there, survey. And then we get over the North Sea. Looks like you got a P-8 over that area too. And the usual suspects. Notice that man in the middle circle being completed by the NA Bird. No idea what kind of aircraft that is. Probably maybe an E-3. And then the Brio 66. They're watching Constanta like nobody's business. These are Turkish drones. I've been adding them to our drone list. We'll see their activity here in a minute as well. Quite busy. Saw them before. I just never really added them, but we got them added into our quiver now. So let's go over here to the Intel aircraft. Notice you've got some taking off out of Tucson. A lot of activity in Southern California. A little bit there north over near Winnipeg with the Canadian Dash 8 de Havilland. And then some stuff going on over the DC metro region. And then this one, remember, these are Intel. This isn't going to be a drone. That one's taking off out of, looks like middle Georgia, maybe Macon. And then of course, it's up doing its little Intel gathering there over Georgia. And then, of course, here we have our usual Brio 66, I believe that is, running all the way up. I mean, just basically paralleling Ukraine, Belarus, Russia. This, again, we got a lot of activity we're going to cover here going on in Odessa. We've got stuff going on in Constanta. And then over Israel, pay attention to that part too, because Israel is starting to really heat up, and there is a lot of drone activity going on along its borders all the way around. All right. And then notice we got the broken one that comes in and out of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And let's jump over. We're going to take a look. Nothing in Japan. Nothing in, we do have one in Australia. Notice that one is headed down south to Tasmania, that in Philippines. And we had one more that was actually over in to the right of Australia and New Zealand, but I totally failed to capture that. So, all right, Netherlands, Belgium, Poland, survey flights we're talking now. Here's the one thing, it's a big takeaway. We are well in excess of 12,000 survey flights so far this year. It's extraordinarily uncommon. Normally, we look at them. Most of the survey flights are done in October, and that is because the leaves. You don't have all of the leave coverage, and you can get better, LiDAR images of the ground. Right? They are doing this 7 days a week, around the clock. Daylight hours really. Notice Australia is still the same spots as always. Then we get over here to the United States. But this is, I have a feeling they are mapping a battlefield, because when we start to get unrest around the world, they're going to need to know every alley, nook, cranny, waterway, highway, everything, because you have to contain those situations, or they have to, right? And the only thing, the common thread around the world, it's not going to be a Trump arrest. Even up in Alaska, they're doing some stuff. It won't be a Trump arrest that causes a civil unrest. You may get some of that in pockets in the U.S. if we have the huevos rancheros to stand up, but I don't think we will. It's going to be, I think, economy. That's the one common thread around the world, all right? Miami, notice right there north of Orlando, East Coast into Texas, down into Houston, North Dallas area. I'm talking my neck of the woods up here, all the way up to the Red River, Denton, and then, I'll get back over there. So we're on the loop here. All right, let's look at the Ruskies. A lot of flight activity going and coming from Moscow. Notice all the way up to the northern side, all the way to the eastern side into China. And then also notice you've got a couple that go across the Black Sea. All right, kind of cut the corner there, headed down into Turkey. And you've got one line that's very hard to see. It's very faint, dark blue line that actually goes into Saudi Arabia. You can barely see it there. But that, another data point, remember Russia is building the relationship with Saudi Arabia as ours crumbles. Okay, this is going to be your drone activity. Just notice a big transition from east to west coast. Notice this activity over the eastern seaboard right there. And notice the round circles, right? That thing is aloft for hours upon hours looking at everything. Any threats in the water, land, whatever it may be. Q4 drones, unmanned, and has a hang time of about 18 hours. So pretty crazy. Now, these are the drones over Turkey. Notice you got one that launches out of Malta. That's probably a Q9 headed towards the Black Sea or Constanta. And then you have Turkey doing their thing. These are low altitude drones that they are popping up. They go all the way over to the far eastern side. There's no activity there today, but we are watching that. Remember, they've got border issues going on with a lot of people around them. So, all right, nothing in Australia. And we get back over to India. That's a Q4 drone that is a U.S. asset in southern India. All right, probably talking to Adobe and, tech support, that is. That's a joke, by the way. All right, now we're over here to the R135s. Just notice this one looks out over the water there, Southern California, down north of Cuba, running that little route in between. Remember, we've got China and we know Russia in Cuba. And then we get over here to Europe. Notice the little activity there off into the North Sea of England. And then down into the Persian Gulf again. Right, looking at Iran, guaranteed. All right, let's take a look. Let's go over to Japan. And you're going to see, too, again, coming out of Okinawa, headed out to the eastern side of Japan. Don't see that. It's usually to the western side. Nothing in Australia. And so let's get back over here. The Sub Hunters, again, same spot as the R135 down off the west southern side of California, out over the Gulf of Mexico, near Norfolk, Virginia, East Coast centric, very busy and active. Get up here to England, again, North Sea, coming out of Iceland, right? Pay attention to that. We've got them running a lot of covert stuff out of Iceland. And then one down to Malta, it looks like. And then we've got this activity out over Constanta. Shocker, right? Looking at stuff out over the region. And then looks like some stuff over the Baltic Sea as well. So that's going to be your Sub Hunters. Let me see if we got anything down in Japan. Don't pay any attention to that blue straight line. That's not an accurate thread. That's just a bad feed. It certainly are not flying Sub Hunters over China or Southeast Asia there. All right, and then Australia, and again some stuff going on over in New Zealand as well. So, okay, let's get into the news cycle here. This one. Pay attention if you're an enthusiast like myself and like to track aircraft. They're about to tighten the screws on us a little bit more as they try to become a little harder to find. I will tell you, they are no match for the Monkey Nation. There are folks that you can't hide. It's just insane the amount of data that is gathered. Also, the crowdsourcing piece is one that's going to really throw a monkey wrench, should you say, into their approach, because with crowdsourcing, those are independent antennas all over the United States that are feeding this network, okay? Very hard to turn those off unless you outlaw them like, maybe AR-15s, right? So anyway, they have a plan. They're going to go out and try to do some procurement activity to make their aircraft, the military side, a little more aloof so you can't really track things like, CIA torture flights, etc. But this whole thing kind of launched with Elon Musk and his being, which I found interesting. They said here in this that he is the world's richest man. I don't see that. I think there's somebody out there besides him that is the richest. I know Putin has a great deal of money, a lot richer than most people realize as well. Anyway, this looks like they are trying to, figure out ways to outthink us all. So we'll see what happens. But just a heads up, little data point for you here on a Wednesday. All right, let's get over here to Flight Radar 24. And one of the things I did want to point out, besides the fact that it is just insanely hot, we've got this large dome over the United States that is it's just one giant bubble that is very, very warm. I know in Texas yesterday it was about 109 in central Texas. So, but check this out. These are the volcanic activity active currently right now. Notice this one up here in just off the tip of Alaska. Notice you've got 1, 2. So it looks like 5, if I'm seeing this. Yeah, 5 volcanoes down here on the Ring of Fire, which is very uncommon. I've seen 2 or 3, but never seen 5. So very, very uncommon. This side is also popping off. So keep your eye on that. We know Iceland has been having some extreme earthquake activity also tied to one of the volcanic areas out over the water here. So we'll see. I don't see anything on that yet, but a lot of tremors and things. So keep our eye on that. And then let's go ahead and bounce on over here to the fire side of the house as if it wasn't hot enough. This is today, current, based on a website, firms US/Canada. It's got the US Forestry and NASA gathering the data. These are going to be your hot spots, these little dots here. I don't know what those are all about, but you just notice we got the fires down here, but look at Canada all the way across. Absolutely insane up into the northern areas. It's just insane. I mean, Canada is pretty much on fire all the way coast to coast. All right. Let's move on from that. Let's go over here to Flashbang Schedule, and I need to do a quick refresh because I did not do that. Let's see. He's got an in-town pool call at 10 a.m., and he's meeting with the Competition Council to announce new actions to increase competition in the American economy, which is in the toilet. Yes, Bidenomics. Anytime they start to name it, you know that's not a good thing. Kind of like healthcare, right? All right. Anyway, there we are for that. Let's move on. Get away from that guy. Well, not so many words. Here we go. James Comer. The Bidens own over 20 shell companies to hide payments and launder money. Why this guy's not in jail, why they haven't tightened the noose on him, I don't know. This is absolutely insane. It was at 18 the last time we checked in when they came out with the first announcement. But yeah, this is a pretty in-depth crime family. And oh, by the way, if you go to Ukraine, you're going to find that, there's a lot of stuff going on there too, right? We already knew that, but most of the general population in the United States does not. So this guy right here has got some, looks like he's actually going for it, which is good. All right. Now here's one. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve could stay half empty forever. So they were talking about replenishing 300 million barrels at a cost of about $70 a barrel. And that would basically cost around $21 billion for oil alone. Keep in mind that that's 21 billion with a B, but we have to date sent 118 billion to Ukraine. Yet our own SPR is going dry. So it is at the lowest levels it's seen since its inception in the 80s. Not good place to be. As you see these things, this is very important and critical if we go to war. So you see this happening. You see us talking about the dangerous levels of our inventories relative to fighting a war with things like armament, Stinger missiles, all kinds of ordnance. And so we are in a very bad position if we had to go to war anytime soon, as is NATO. All right, let's see what happens here. I have a feeling that they will have Trump behind bars before we ever get to an election in 2024. This right here, Trump is basically telling us that he's about to be arrested for the January 6th grand jury. He made an announcement down here. This comes after he just won a straw poll that said he was against other Republican candidates. He's got 85.7% in terms of the lead against everyone. I would say Mike Pence is probably done based on his response about he's not concerned about America, but he's concerned about Ukraine. That tells you that he is a deep state guy, and they are going to do everything they can in their power to arrest Trump before the election to keep him from being in the election. So the big question is, what are we the people going to do about it? All right. Here we go. Joe Biden's parole pipeline frees more than 500,000 migrants into the U.S. Yeah, we've been watching the flights. We've been watching all of the stuff take shape at the border since Title 42 expired. It says here that this figure, basically the 500,000 figure, that nearly 170,000 migrants from Latin America and the Caribbean and more than 163,000 Ukrainians, 133,000 migrants via Biden's Migrant mobile app, and 77,000 Afghanis have been released into the United States. That's how that makes up. All right. Well, at least, I have no words. This is just beyond. It's like hitting ludicrous speed. All right, here's your dollar for today. It's up right now, 0.42. And you can see it has been, as of last night, it was down very below $1. So it's very up and down right now. We'll just keep our eye on it. But as we get closer to the BRICS in August, then as I log in, but as we get closer to the BRICS that's happening, the meeting in August 22nd, I believe it is, we will probably see some significant fluctuation in the dollar. All right. Okay, it's going to be your NOTAMs. This is basically, think of it as, it's a notice to airmen, and it just keeps pilots from flying into areas they shouldn't be, or at least without being properly in the notification. Kind of like a TFR, but a little different. Most of these are going to be MIL ops or MIL exercises taking shape. Notice it gets very active and busy up here on this side of Russia, which is interesting, and then up in the northern end as well. Let me back up. I do find it interesting we don't have anything over Iceland with the current volcanic activity that is potentially going to take place unless it settles down. We do have TFR here. We'll look at that in just a second. Again, danger boxes over East Coast and West Coast. A lot of activity in boxes over the United States. And then we do still have this one going on over Hawaii. Let's take a gander at this. I don't know what this is. Inactive to service 17,000 feet. Maybe we have a sub. That's Wake Island, or around Wake Island. Maybe we've got a sub that's going to launch an ICBM or something, a Trident or something like that out in the water. Marshall Islands down here. I don't know. That's the first time I've ever seen that. So, okay. Get out here to Southeast Asia and just notice you've got a lot of boxes over northern Philippine area, over north of Manila. Some stuff happening down in Indonesia. And then we get down into Australia. You've got a box over Darwin. A lot of stuff happening south and north of Sydney, down in Melbourne, and then, of course, Perth. Okay. Here's your Bohica moment. Biden approves pumping another $1.3 billion in arms into the stalemated Ukraine war. Yeah, we're just going to keep on giving until everybody's bank accounts are looking primo for the implementation of the digital dollar. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all goes. But this package reportedly includes air defenses, counter-drone systems, and exploding drones and ammunition. $1.3 billion. Yet we can't replenish our strategic petroleum reserve. They are definitely doing everything they can to stave off the inevitable. And just note that, this is the deep state at the table, folks. All right. They are trying to preserve what they have implemented for some 80 years now in Ukraine. Okay, Russian pummels southern Ukraine in a retribution strike for the Crimea Bridge. Yeah, this bridge, you can see, I had somebody comment in the last SITREP that I didn't do my due diligence on the research that the bridge was not damaged, but I just want to show you the picture here so that you can see that the bridge is indeed damaged. This was their comment that 2 parents were killed and a daughter wounded in a vehicle, but this is actually the damaged bridge. Okay, Ukraine situation report. Kiev claims a massive Russian buildup near Kharkov. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Ukrainian military leaders say that Russia has assembled 100,000 troops in the east for an attack to draw reserves from the counteroffensive. From everything I can tell, it looks like Russia is about to do their own offensive here. And they may be getting ready to pull the trigger pretty soon based on the intelligence flights, based on the R-135s, the P-8s, all of the other data that we're seeing around Constanta. And so pay close attention to that because this could be another push for another area in terms of land grab, okay? All right. And over here on the Jerusalem Post, new Russian warship with hypersonic missiles joins the Black Sea Fleet. Again, we are watching the flights going over the Black Sea. We know now Russia is starting to add more to their naval fleet within the Black Sea. This is going to be very interesting to see because we know we have U.S. assets in there. We've got submarines. There are mines within the area going up towards Odessa. And so this, again, an area for watch to keep an eye on, okay? All right. Kiev says Russia targets grain infrastructure with strikes on Ukraine's Odessa port. Yeah, they're going to try and prevent any of the Ukrainian grain of getting out. So it looks like that is the new deal. Ukraine's Air Force said 63 missiles and drones have been launched across the country by Russia in an overnight attack. And they say they shot 37 of them down. Just what you want to see. Kid stuff. Not good. All right. Nonetheless, this grain deal is very, very important in the fact that it is going to drive the cost of grain up. It's going to reduce the supply. And then, of course, Constanta is the only port that they can really get things out of safely at the moment. And I think that it might change. Given the fact that Constanta is actually not part of Ukraine, that may be the only thing that keeps it from being squeezed, but nothing to stop the Russians from dropping mines in the water, right? And then here again, Pentagon is saying that there is a significant escalation in Russian jets endangering lives of U.S. pilots over Syria. That just came out yesterday. Once again, it looks like it is game on over Syria. We've got, keep in mind, we've got some pretty advanced aircraft in that region. We've got F-35s, we've got F-22s. I don't think these boys right here are even remotely going to stack up against F-22s if they engage. So keep an eye on that. But as I've said in the past, we are all eyes on Ukraine, but Syria is a very it's a powder keg, and that could actually be an area that kicks all of this off, and we're not going to even be expecting it. So, all right. Let's jump over here to Biggs Army Airfield. It has been very busy. This is the arrival board. Just notice the amount of flights in here. A lot of these are trainers and the like, okay? But we do have an Eastern airline from Kansas City in. That's the only thing, but just notice how busy it is on the board. A lot of helos, a lot of other aircraft in there, C-130s, etc. And then notice here, this Eastern Airlines is headed up to Bangor, Maine. And we do have an Atlas Air that's coming in. Again, 767 from Baltimore headed back to Portsmouth. So it looks like that is starting to pick up the 3,000 troops plus whatever is being pulled from the IRR and sending them to Europe right away. So they are not waiting. All right. Over to Dover. We do have some 747s inbound, one Atlas Air, one Coletta, one from Miami, one Chicago, and then another one coming in from Oscoda, Michigan. That's going to be coming probably out of maintenance. That's their hub. And so that's a 747 as well. And then another Atlas Air down here coming in from Chicago. Let's see where they're headed from there. RZE, Forward Operating Base. One headed over to Newfoundland. It's going to be Gander International. That's going to be 747s. And then this one here, another RZE. So it looks like we are replenishing or pushing in the stuff that was just approved, maybe the $1.3 billion worth of equipment. It looks like the 747s are getting that into the theater ASAP. All right. It could also be tanks and things like that because they are losing quite a few. I think they're probably at about 25% of everything we've given them in terms of being wiped out. Helping or leaving them on the battlefield probably doesn't help matters, right? Okay. This is going to be Ramstein, and just notice you've got Baltimore 747 coming in, and then Atlas Air headed back to Baltimore from a 767, and then from there that it turns into a camber flight headed to Kuwait. Middle East is also starting to become very, very active, probably due to the Russians being in Libya, etc. All right, I see something standing out. We're at RZE Poland. This is a forward operating base to Ukraine. The thing that stands out to me is I'm starting to see an uptick, significant uptick in terms of the camber flights coming back into the country. Notice we got one coming out of Nuremberg here, which is going to be, that's a troop carrier more than likely. 747 coming from Louisville, Kentucky. That is probably a UPS, given the airport it's coming out of. But it is a camber flight. So that could be bringing in some troops because you're going to need a lot of seats to get 3,500 new troops into the region. And then this one coming out of Tampa, MacDill, again, 747. That's probably equipment. And then Portsmouth, probably equipment as well. 747, all of those cambers. So we've got 5 camber flights on the board. All right. And then nothing in terms of schedule. Let's see if we've got them leaving and going anywhere. You got looks like a Army chief of staff kind of guy there in Duke 89. All right. You got Coletta headed out. Don't show where. Atlas Air headed to Seoul, Korea. Let's go on down the line here. Nothing else. All right. Nothing else catching my eye on that side. Okay. Let's move on. All right. Camber flight looks like one leaving Travis Air Force Base, California. It looks to be, if I'm guessing, like it's going to be headed out here to the East Coast. And then you've got this one that is took off out of Dover, 747, coming into RZE Forward Operating Base, which we just looked at. Western Global, Anchorage to Los Angeles. Again, staging location down here out of Anchorage. So these guys are coming out of the Asian Pacific side up to Anchorage and then down to Los Angeles. All right. Nothing on the board for NATO. Omni's got 2 flights up, one out of Fort Worth Alliance to Hawaii, the other from Hawaii to Guam. So it looks like we are still staging some folks out here in Guam at the moment. Looks to be a little bit of a buildup, right? Okay, the Brits, a little more active than they were last time we checked in. We've got 5 of them on the board. Again, notice here, you've got one coming out of that forward operating base in RZE. Man, it looks like we're doing another buildup in the forward operating base. So you've got Russia jockeying on one side. You've got the U.S. starting to do some things too. We seem to have, after this last NATO summit, re-engaged in terms of stepping up the ante all the way around. So keep our eye on this because again, I see nothing in terms of a de-escalation. All I see is the other direction, and you can only escalate for so long until you go to war. And I don't think it's that far off. I think we're buying some time right now, trying to get our inventory levels back up, but not good. All right. Notice the amount of flights down into Central America from border towns. Looks like we are deporting quite a few folks right now. Look at this. Just another wave, right? And then, of course, the Alexandrias are also important to note because that's a 72-hour holding facility in Alexandria, Louisiana. And then let's see. I don't know what that is and why it's yellow. Interesting. We're going to click on it just to see what is going on. It's coming out of Columbus, Georgia to Alexandria, but why it was yellow on the board, I don't know. It looks like it's normal on this side. All right. All right. Well, listen, folks, that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your afternoon and evening for those that are in the premiere with us. We'll see you on Friday for the live show. Keep that powder dry and stay frosty. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. Check out the latest gear and products over at monkeywerxus.com.